What?
I read a lot of books.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't read all of them.
I made this for myself.
Yeah, well.
Welcome to marriage.
I realize that at the beginning of my videos, I usually give a warning about background noise. I totally forgot to do it for this video, and I really should have, because this video has the most background noise ever possible in my home, because it includes both the humans that I live with, the 2 dogs that I live with, and the 3 cats that I also live with. So I apologize, but it's just the way it is.
No.
I hate it too.
No. Reminds me of a fucking Porsche character from Cars.
Excuse me? What? I missed part of this. What?
How do cars make love?
How do cars make love?
Yes.
Passionately? This fucking
You're close,
cube
but this
is
needs to be more like that way.
that way. Alright, so for anyone wondering why this fucking video is starting with puzzles, it's because we gave John, our roommate, these like wooden block puzzle manipulative things.
How long ago?
Like 2. Oh shit! It fell apart! I'm not putting it back together.
Story of my life.
But yeah, and he just, I don't know, I guess woke up today and chose chaos.
Yeah.
You're giving her
It
popcorn?
fell on the floor.
I really need to get started on this video.
Well, we're already doing it.
Huh?
We're already doing it.
Yeah, well, I'm supposed to be doing a wrap-up, not doing a bunch of puzzles.
It's a group effort today.
Oh! Listen, my videos are turning into more and more chaos. This is interesting. Anyways, it's February now, but I am doing my January wrap-up, which is everything that I read in the month of January, and with it, I sort of created a type of board game, because a lot of people out there have wrap-up game, not wrap-up, what am I fucking saying? They have TBR games where they play a game to pick the books that they'll read in the month, and I don't really like to do that anymore. I used to, but now I just play a game with what I read. The way that I advance on the board is the rating of the book is how many spots I advance on the board. If I get to the end of the board, I just get to buy books. Basically, it's just directions too confusing. So yeah, we're just gonna get right into it. If you want more explanations, I did other videos. Okay, and Ryan's just passing around popcorn. All right, so the first book that I'm gonna talk about is Forged in the Fallout by Ben Green. The glare is amazing. Yeah. This is a self-pub book, and I'm just gonna go get a drink.
Oh my god, you're so tight. Alright guys, I'm back. And I just wanted to read this one little snippet out of this book for everyone to understand exactly why I did not finish this book. I start to ask him why his billy club has a name, but his shirt button is bright enough to burn a hole in his leg, which can only mean whoever's here is getting closer.
Don't get it.
I don't think anyone was supposed to get it. Shirt button, leg, billy club. The whole sentence, just this one sentence was enough. It was just enough. This will not be getting finished.
So yeah, I think Ryan explained it. We're good. Moving on.
I'm Lola.
You pretended to be me.
My alter ego explained it.
My alter ego, yeah.
I had one of those. They were delicious.
Right?
You had an alter ego?
What?
You had an alter ego? Yes.
No, the nerds.
Your alter ego's a nerd.
Lola has
Stop,
an alter
back
ego.
up from my fucking food.
Ain't really food.
Yes,
Lay
it's
down.
100 calories per 16 pieces.
Be proud of that.
Up.
Yeah, because I eat way more than
You not.
16 pieces, bro.
Lay down.
And then there's these.
Slightly
I don't know.
spicier.
I don't know what these are, but I'm adding them in. Okay, and since that book was not finished and it was DNF, that means there was no rating, so I don't move on my board.
No, you go
Next
negative
book.
because the book was so bad.
Do you think I should do that? I can add
I
that.
think.
If every time I do a DNF, I move back a space.
No, not a DNF. If the book is so bad that you DNF.
Well, but I
it-
didn't finish it. Here's the thing, though, is that I don't like saying that a book is bad because that's my
Personal.
a subjective opinion. So, but if I DNF it, I could probably just move back a space. I
feel
think,
like-
you know what, let's do that because honestly,
like
I
you-
move too
you-
fast on the board.
You.
Ryan thinks that it should be based on my feelings of it, but I think that every time I DNF a book now, I'm just gonna move back a space. So I'm here and I'm just gonna move back. There we are. Nice wings. I'm proud of those wings. So after that unfortunate reading that was not completed, I did read a book that I really, really, really liked, which was Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher, which I gave 5 stars. This book is really interesting. So basically I think it's a fairy tale retelling, or it's just its own made up fairy tale. But basically it's about this girl who, her sister was sent to a prince and died, and she suspects the prince, but everyone, you know, is kind of saying like, no, it's just, you know, it was a tragic accident. And then her other sister, before her as well, gets sent to the prince, and she learns basically that this prince is a piece of shit and she wants to kill him. Now, how does she go about killing him? She's just this girl who, by the way, I think she does have autism. Like, I think that you have this perspective of a 30, 40-year-old woman who has dealt with autism her whole life and has been told that she's just slow and dumb. I mean, she functions just fine, but I don't know. The way that certain people described her was not the nicest. And she approaches a witch, sort of. They're not called witches. What were they called again? Like bog wives or something like that. They're basically the keepers of cemeteries, and they can speak to the dead. And someone told her that there was this one really old, very powerful one, to go see her. I love the bog witch, or the cemetery witch, whatever the fuck she's called, because she is sarcasm in human form, and she has a chicken that she says is a demon. And I mean, you never really see it, but after a while you start believing it. And then she also finds this warrior in a fairy market, which the fairy market felt so very fae, but not in like the, you know, cute fairies and, you know, oh, they have wings and there's sparkles everywhere. No, fairies in Celtic lore are pretty ugly looking, and you don't want to be near them because they're tricky and they try to keep you in the fae realm, which is not a place that humans want to be in. But anyways, they find the guy, and then they meet another bog witch, hag, whatever, and she has more chickens, and she's a lot sweeter, and she ends up being a lot more terrifying because she's all nice and bubbly and she bestows these like wishes on people. But yeah, that's more of like the only nice thing that she can do, and she never really wanted to use her scarier powers, so she never really delved into it. Point is, this story was really entertaining and also very dark at times, because this girl's just trying to save her sister from an extremely abusive man that is also at the same time trying to take over another kingdom, and she's just on a mission that is going to tilt the kingdom, you know, yeah, it's gonna cause problems. But for such a short book, the amount of love that I had for these characters and investment I had in the story, I was impressed. 5 spaces. Okay. 5. All right, so I landed on an empty space on my board, which means that I'm gonna pull out of my little stack that I have. I realize I didn't show that, but whatever. So I have a stack of little papers that have fun, unrelated prompts, sort of. Oh shit, okay, well, the one I picked up just says to compare the last rated book, so Nettle and Bone, to a movie. I don't think I can. It would have to be like a rescue mission with like older people that are just very odd. I don't know, man. Like what? I can't look at John either. He doesn't watch movies.
Wow, just out into the fucking world, I guess.
Well, I'm sorry. Do you want people to be under the false assumption that you know a lot of movie references?
I don't think they have to know either way.
All right, fair enough. It needs to be kind of comedic. I literally can't think of anything.
Literally, I can't.
Oh my god, I just can't.
On a scale of 1 to even, I can't.
What is that movie? The only one that I can think of, it's not even really a rescue mission though. It's more of a go kill that guy mission, which, I mean, this is kind of what this is too. But it doesn't really fit either, because like there's no badass female like in the group trying to save everyone. And even like the big tough warrior guy, well, he's got his own fucking trauma. And then it's 2 old ladies and chickens. What kind of movie has chickens in it that are like main characters? Chicken Run? Oh, hey, maybe it's comparable to Chicken Run. I cannot compare this book to a movie. I legit can't. If you guys can, please, by all means, put it in the comments, because I'm stumped.
I ended up thinking about Spirited Away like that night after recording, because there's a little girl trying to save her parents, so there's this saving aspect, and then there's an old lady too, and kind of a bird, sort of. I don't know, but Spirited Away was kind of my best last option movie to compare to Nettle and Bone.
Next book on the list is Notes from the Burning Age by Claire North. I read 5 pages and decided that I didn't want to continue. I don't know why. It's I mean, the writing style most likely, because that's really all that I can base it off of. But yeah, I started the book and I like feeling like I don't know exactly what's happening when I read a book. But this one was like, I don't really know what's happening, but I also don't care. Like, I'm just bored and I'm not interested. Probably because it seemed like it was very much based in reality, and I don't need that. So yeah, I don't know if I'll ever pick it up again. My interest in it has gone down significantly. I guess I moved back for this too. I realized that I made this game in a time when I was very, I don't know, motivated, I guess. I landed on the arena spot. Hi. I landed on the arena spot, and the prompt for that, or rather the challenge, is for me to do 15 sit-ups.
Got it.
I just spat. I have to do 15?
Yeah. 1-5.
Okay, well, she's behind me. She's crawling under the table. Alright. Fuck. Oh, sorry.
Half. 3/4.
This is going really well.
1!
That one doesn't get. 1, 2, 3. Oh, my tummy is making noises more. 15.
Good job.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Listen, not what I was expecting for today. Okay, let me now win my challenge, which basically just lets... So yeah, basically all this does is that it lets me skip the spot that I had already been in before.
Yeah.
To now go here.
That.
Wait, what?
I can't get the rest of them to lock.
What the hell does this mean? +2, -2? Excuse me? What the hell kind of rules am I... Oh. Alright, so I'm gonna roll this dice. If I get 1 through 4, then I have to go back 2 spaces again. I don't have to do the challenge again, though, thank the gods. If I get 5 through 8, I can move up 2 spaces. Hey, I got a 7. So I get to move up 2 spaces, which I get Vicus. God damn it. Why? This is turning into more of a game than it is talking about books. Oh shit. Okay, Vicus is... So when I land on the Vicus space, I Google a riddle generator, and I'm terrible at riddles. I'm horrible at them. If I solve it, I can skip all the way to the end and automatically win the game. Okay, you may get stuck, but have no fear. The way out is usually near. A teaser, a quandary, a remedy to a rhyme. Take your time, the answer is on the line. What am I? A period? Like at the end of a sentence? A remedy to a rhyme? Or maybe it's a semicolon? A word? Let me see if I can just find the answer. Riddle posted 1 day ago by The Chicklet. 1,306 people have viewed this riddle. There have been 135 attempts to guess the answer.
And no one's gotten it?
I don't know what the answer is. I don't know how to find the answer. The thing is, Ryan, I have to be able to see an answer. I want to. I need to see an answer. All right, well, you know what? I fucking lose.
Failed.
I need to find a different website where I can actually find the answers. I'm sorry, but there are going to be no answers for those. If you think you know the answer, then put it down in the comments. All right. Next book that I read, I did a review on this one, so if you want to check that out, you can, but it is Babel by R.F. Kuang, which took the book community by storm at the end of last year. Babel it's listed as a fantasy. I disagree, but it's a historical fantasy you follow this main character called Robin. He was taken from China by a professor of Oxford, and he basically is told that his only worth is because he speaks Mandarin and Cantonese and English, and so he can translate. And translation is very important because it, I guess, helps make silver have magical capabilities of some sort. It's very complicated in the book, but it does make sense when you read it. I just don't want to go too much into detail. But essentially, if you put one language on one side of a silver bar and then another language on the other side of the silver bar, and the words are related in some way, then whatever those words mean, that silver bar will do. Like, for example, if you have a car and on one side you have the word fast and on the other side you have the word fast in another language, then that car will just go fast. That's the simple way for me to explain it. But the story is very much not about the magic, and it's very much not about anything that would be fantastical or new. It is historical. It delves into colonization and the brutality of racism and manipulation of people through drugs, education, and all of the above. I mean, listen, I don't think it's a bad book. I said it in the review that I made that this is a good book. It's well written. It has, you know, very great views, and the story isn't necessarily bad. It's just that I was so incredibly bored because I've read a lot of history books, and when I want to read a fantasy, I want it to be a fantasy. I don't want it to be, oh, real life but altered slightly. Like, that's not my thing. So, yeah. And also the pacing was just a big problem for me, where it just felt like you were getting a lot more about languages than you were about the characters and anything about the story and this revolution that's apparently building up. And it takes so fucking long for anything to really happen in the book that I just got annoyed. So I only gave this book 2 stars, which apparently is not that unpopular of an opinion. I thought that when I put up my review and said that, oh, I'm only giving this book 2 stars, that a bunch of people were going to come after me and be like, you just don't understand. But it turns out quite a few people were like, no, yeah, I kind of agree.
This one was just center.
Landed on an empty space. Pick one of my little card things. My last book rated versus a favorite book. Well, let me just say that that's very easy. That book doesn't compare to any of my favorite books. So, yeah, I will still prefer all of my favorite, even books that aren't necessarily a favorite and books that I just kind of enjoyed. But yeah, like it better than that. That was super easy. I get that this can be confusing, but I put this in case I read a book that I really liked and then I have to face the pick between one of my favorite books and this new book that I read that I really liked. Like, it would have probably been hard with Nettle and Bone, for example, but with Babel, that's easy. Next book. This one's very good. The 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. It came out in 2015, so I'm very late to this, but I understand why people praise these books. I had them for a long time. They've been sitting on my shelf, and I almost said shitting on my shelf. They have been sitting on my shelf. They've been sitting on my shelf for a long time, and I kept being like, I don't know, should I read them? Because I kept hearing people say that it can actually be very difficult to get into these books, and the perspective in which the author writes it is second person, which is not something a lot of people enjoy or can follow along to very easily. And since I'm kind of new back into reading, and by that I mean like I literally picked up reading again last year, I didn't feel like I was prepared enough, you know? So I did decide though, I was like, all right, I'm gonna pick it up because Lorena over on Instagram that I talked to quite a bit, she was the one who influenced me to read the Winnowing Flame trilogy. And after I read those, she was like, oh man, if you're interested in reading the 5th season, read it. I think you'll really like it. And she was right. So the 5th season is set in a very intricate fantasy world that I personally think is more like a very distant future of Earth, but instead of it having those typical sci-fi elements of like robots and machines and spaceships, it's actually more of like Earth turned against humanity, where it got to a point where nature just became stronger. But I don't want to say too much of that because honestly, I feel like that'd be a little bit of a spoiler if I said more. But the world that we live in, so the Stillness, this continent, which has a very ironic name because they call it the Stillness, but it is very active with earthquakes, volcanoes, just constant movement, really. And the people who live on Stillness deal with what they call seasons, which, you know, kind of like what we know, or winter, spring, whatever, except it's very different here, where in the back of the book, it'll actually tell you that there's a history of different seasons that don't sound as great as winter, spring, and fall and summer. It's the choking season, the acid season, the boiling season, the breathless season, etc., etc., etc. So that's just the setting, and there's a lot more to it, which I was totally immersed with. And then the characters. In the first book, you follow a few. You follow Asun, who is a mother who her husband just killed their son. That's not a spoiler, it's right at the beginning. Her husband killed their son because her son is what they call an origin, which are people who can control these earth shakes that happen, and people are terrified of them because they can also ice things. Not gonna go into too much detail again because it's very complicated and I don't want to fuck it up. And then you follow Demaya, who is a little girl who is taken by a guardian, who basically, guardians are people who take origin children and try to train them in a place called the Fulcrum. And then you have Cyanite, who is an agent of the Fulcrum, who has a little bit of rank, and she is sent out on a mission with a very high-ranking Fulcrum origin. And yeah, that's all I'm gonna say, because honestly, any more than that, I think would give away too much. But in this first book, the only person who has a perspective written in second person is Asun. I don't think it was that confusing to follow along, but then again, I also read Harrow the Ninth, which a lot of people are like, what the fuck is happening in this book? Which is how I felt reading that book. But I like that. I like being delightfully confused, and this book did it. So I loved it. I give it 5 stars. Fucking amazing. I feel like it's becoming too easy to win. I don't feel like getting up anymore. Yay! Ooh, confetti. I win. So that just means I get to buy a book, which I already did, so I'm just gonna, I don't know. I bought How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix because it's the next book that I'm reading in my book club, and I like Grady Hendrix, so I was like, I'll just buy the book instead of getting it from the library. If I do buy another book or not, I feel like I'm trying to be better.
He's like so active right now.
Sometimes that happens. All right, but anyways, I'm gonna start back at the beginning for the rest of these books. Oh, I think I forgot one of these because I don't own it. Oh, I totally forgot. Yeah. Right after reading Babel, I actually read The Broken Girls, which is a mystery thriller. It was for my book club. It was nothing phenomenal, but one of the things that I really liked was the ending. So The Broken Girls it's about a woman who is investigating, well, she's not really investigating it, she wants to, but she finally gets the sort of push and evidence to continue investigating the murder of her sister, which her sister went to an all-girls boarding school and she was killed, and the suspect was her boyfriend, but the sister thinks that there's something more going on. And I should probably remember, the perspective you're following is Fiona. Fiona is the journalist, and she's trying to figure out what more could have happened to have caused her sister to be murdered. Now, an interesting part about this book is that you have the present, where it's Fiona, the journalist, and then you have the past, a long past, before her sister was killed, in like the 1950s, when the boarding school kind of almost was first made, and you have all these girls who are at this school who are broken. They don't have any family, they have no one who cares about them, and this school that they're in, I mean, it's the 50s, they're not being taught how to, go to college, they're being taught how to be a housewife, how to work a garden, and they're treated like shit. Yeah, there's kind of a mix between Fiona's sister being murdered and then things that happen in the past, and also this ghost that apparently haunts this school. I'm not gonna say more because it's a mystery thriller, and if you say more, you kind of give it away. So all I'm gonna say is that the ending, in my opinion, was very satisfying because it felt like all these women got justice. And also what's nice too is that it had a relationship, Fiona and this police officer. I actually liked it a lot because it was very supportive, and it was, she starts investigating her sister's death after all these years, and at first he's like, come on, don't go back down that road, but then, he's not telling her she's completely stupid either. He still tries to help a little bit. It was nice, and you didn't have to go through all the wooing and romance and blah blah blah. It was they trust each other, they do things together, they argue, they whatever. So I did like that part as well. And I gave it 3.5 stars, so that means I move up 4 spaces. Whee! 1, 2, 3, 4. Nothing happens there, thank the gods. Okay, the camera is charged again. Ended up reorganizing my shelves, so there's only 2 more books for me to talk about anyways, and the first one is Through the Veil, which is by multiple authors because it's a collection of short stories. I did not give this book a rating because I don't understand how people can rate an anthology because all the stories are different. All these stories are like fantasy, sci-fi-y, but what's nice about this book, so I got this book from a friend. He lent it to me, I have to give it back, but he discovered it on Twitter, and he said that like he saw that all the proceeds of, you know, whatever they get from selling this book independently will go toward I believe it's an author who they know that is dealing with cancer, but it does have like a foreword that says that basically they wrote this and put it together and published it for the sake of people who are suffering a little more than others. Now, I didn't love all the stories in here, but I do think they were all very cool. My favorites are definitely the first two, and there are a few that are, again, like they're interesting, but I felt like they were too short, which is good in a way because I would have preferred to see them as full stories, but as short stories I definitely could not appreciate them as much. Overall though, they're all very good, and it is very, very thin, so you can get through this pretty easily. So if you do like fantasy, sci-fi, horror-y type things, I do recommend it. And, you know, for a good cause. The last book that I read in January, which I honestly did not think that I would be able to finish it by the end of the month, but I did because I've been on this ride that is the Broken Earth trilogy. So the Obelisk Gate, it's the second book in the Broken Earth trilogy. In this one, you follow Assun as well, but other characters. I don't want to say too much because really it's pretty massive spoilers if I say much of this one, but you are going to follow Assun a lot more in this one, and you get a lot more of the world and the season that is currently happening, which again, the seasons in this book are not winter, spring, etc. It's much more brutal and people don't survive very much. This book also went much more into how people live in this world, where there's no functional government, there's no real organization. You live in communities, they just call them comms, and you are either useful and thus might be able to survive, your chance of survival is a little higher, or you are comless, so you do not have a community and you will most likely die. Now, Assun is still trying to find her daughter, which, you know, is her only surviving child, and you do get her daughter's perspective in this book. And I must say, it is absolutely tragic, and the shit that this 10, 11-year-old girl goes through it's terrifying. I definitely had moments where I was like, this girl is never going to recover from this ever. And I predict a mother versus daughter happening, but it's gonna make me cry, I feel. I don't know. These books are very well written. The second person writing style is a lot more present in this book as well, so if you didn't like it in the first one, then I don't recommend you continue, if it's like the writing that bothered you. Anywho's, that's it. Oh, right, and I gave this one 5 stars, so I'll move up 5 spaces. It's beautiful.
Hang on, let me fix that.
Oh shit, what did I do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Damn it, I have to go back 2. 1, 2. Oh, and I have to slide all the way back. Literally back to square one. I really did not think this board game through very well, which I guess in a way is kind of the entertaining part, where I made things and I'm like, well, I didn't quite plan that out correctly, but it is the way it is. One day I might have a better board. Maybe. Ta-da, this is everything that I read. I'm never good at ending these videos, but I hope that January was a good reading month for you. If you've read any of these books, I'd love to chat more about them with you. With that is the end of my video, so goodbye, love you, see you next time, bye!